Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. And thank you, Jen. It is good to be back here at the end of this whole of government review that we just undertook of America's supply chains following President Biden's direction back in February. We said from the beginning that our approach to supply chain policy needs to be an integral part of the president's overarching economic strategy to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. We also said that we were not going to simply be writing reports in this 100 days and that we're going to sit on a shelf. We were going to be taking action to address specific supply chain vulnerabilities. I think today's reports make both those things crystal clear. To achieve supply chain resiliency, we need to build back better by leveraging America's greatest strengths. First and foremost, American workers. Decades of focusing on labor as a cost to be managed and not an asset to be invested in have weakened our domestic supply chains, undermined wages and union density for workers, and also contributed to companies' challenges finding skilled talent. We must focus on creating pathways for all Americans to access well-paid jobs with a free and fair choice to join a union and bargain collectively. Second, our diversity. We need to unlock the full potential of the American people, including making economic opportunities available across our country and for women and for people of color. Third, our small businesses. To build a diverse and healthy ecosystem of suppliers, we must rebuild our small and medium-sized business manufacturing base that has borne the brunt of the hollowing out of U.S. manufacturing. Fourth, our alliances. We need to diversify our international suppliers and reduce geographic concentration risk. For too long, the U.S. has taken certain features of global markets, especially the fear that companies and capital are going to flee to wherever wages, taxes, and regulation are the lowest, as inevitable. The pandemic laid bare the challenges of this approach, and we need to change it. We are committed to working with partners and allies to decrease the vulnerabilities in our collective supply chains. And finally, fifth, our imagination. Our approach to supply chain resilience needs to look forward to emerging threats, from cybersecurity to climate issues, and so we are future-proofing and building back better. Second, it's clear from these reports that we need to take action, and today we made a series of announcements to that effect, including on pharmaceuticals. The Department of Health and Human Services is going to be using its Defense Production Act authority and funding appropriated under the President's American Recovery Plan to invest $60 million in advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing technologies and R&D. On advanced batteries, the Department of Energy will take steps to advance its support for battery research, manufacturing, and processing. This is going to include new rules to ensure that companies that develop new products based on federal R&D funding manufacture those products in the U.S. So what is invented in America can be made in America by America's workers. On critical minerals and materials like lithium and rare earths, that are essential in our fight to combat the climate crisis. We will be announcing a comprehensive strategy that includes both increases in sustainable U.S. production and processing and working with allies and partners to increase sustainable global supply and reduce reliance on geopolitical competitors. Across all of our domestic and international efforts on minerals, we will maintain a commitment to adhere to the highest environmental, labor, and social sustainability standards and support robust community engagement in the process, including tribal consultations here in the U.S. On semiconductors, the Department of Commerce will double down on their ongoing work to convene industry and work with allies and partners to increase transparency, communication, and trust throughout the semiconductor supply chain. Finally, as we move to focus on our one-year reviews, the Department of Agriculture is announcing more than $4 billion in a robust suite of Build Back Better initiatives focused on building a more fair, competitive, distributed, and resilient food supply chain and food system. Third, we need to be nimble and be able to address emerging supply chain issues at the same time as we're continuing this work on these longer supply chain resiliency strategies. And that is why today we are launching a new supply chain disruptions task force to tackle near-term bottlenecks in the semiconductor, home building and construction, transportation, and agriculture and food industries. This task force is going to be led by 3 cabinet secretaries, Secretaries Buttigieg, Raimondo, and Vilsack, and will bring an all-of-government approach to addressing the near-term supply-demand mismatches we are seeing in these sectors as the economy reignites. They will be collaborating closely with industry, labor, and other stakeholders to surface solutions, share best practices, and take actions. And we at the White House are going to be their partners by their side. It's going to be NEC, DPC, CEA, NSC, all of us working with them. Throughout our work on supply chains, we have been heartened to see the bipartisan support for supply chain security and resiliency, including when the president started this review by meeting with a bipartisan group of senators in the Oval Office. We look forward to working with Congress as we move these ideas into action. And before I turn it over to my colleague and friend, Peter Harrell, I want to note that our report's findings reinforce the president's call for making a once-in-a-generation investment in our nation's production and innovation infrastructure. Those investments proposed in the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan will strengthen the public systems that connect manufacturing, researchers, workers, and small businesses, and will help unleash the power and ingenuity of the private markets to drive towards national resiliency. Thank you. Peter?